Everybody, we are here. It has finally happened. The season finale of WandaVision. I have feelings and thoughts. Helen has feelings and thoughts. But first things first, how are you today, Helen?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm really happy with this finale. I know there's controversy about people not getting exactly what they wanted, but isn't there always with a Marvel product? But I
Yeah,
think it was
it's
great.
yeah, like I wasn't disappointed. I think there's a great Star Wars podcast called Force Center, and they have a shirt that says speculate responsibly. And I think the Marvel universe could have used this with the
Yeah.
speculate responsibly because we kind of started having some fan theories on who was going to show up. I got super excited for one of yours showing up kind of thing, but I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't
No.
disappointed. I guess because again, I didn't go in with a lot of expectations, and definitely sometimes saying lowering your expectations is not a bad thing. It's not like oh, it's going to
Mm.
be crap. Lower your expectations. Just don't go in with a bunch of fan theories and hopes because yeah, you're ultimately going to be disappointed. And there was two instances where we got trolled big
Yeah,
time by the actors and the production and
absolutely.
all of that. But I'm happy. I will say my only slight critique of the finale, it didn't feel like a cohesive conclusion. It did feel very open-ended. Like I kind of wanted it to feel a bit done. And so it felt a bit
I don't know.
open-ended.
There's a lot of because I think the thing about WandaVision is we knew going into this, WandaVision will be setting up Doctor Strange 2, and as soon as it was announced that Monica Rambeau was in it, we were like, okay, and it's also setting up Captain Marvel 2. We knew
Mm.
that going in, and I think anybody who was expecting like that to wrap up somehow, like, oh, then Doctor Strange is going to turn up at the end and then the multiverse will happen, and it's like, wait, that's his movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's
No,
not
that's
going to
true.
turn up a month after this has started and be like, I'm coming to fix this a month later. Like, it's not that far like from where Doctor
No.
Strange is to New Jersey. It's not
No.
like he's on another planet or anything. So yeah, it's like anyone who was like, "Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to turn up," I'm like, probably not.
I
But
mean, I don't know. And again, I think it's because we got trolled by our wonderful Paul.
oh, wonderful.
Uh
To be
that
honest, but again, that's something else where you go. I think anybody sort of watching at the end of last week will have gone, "Oh, I see what he meant now." Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, you take a second to step back and you're just like, oh, okay, so he was doing what they wished that Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo would do, which is know the answer and not tell anyone, but like play with the answer a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas Tom Holland's just like, this is the movie. here's, here's the end of the movie for you.
This is like the ongoing joke now that he's gonna like he's not allowed to talk to anybody and spoil
Yeah.
things, but um
But yeah, I think
gosh.
like Paul Bettany's been doing this long enough that they're like, yeah, he can play with it a bit. And
Yeah.
given how this all turned out, I'm not unhappy that we didn't get like, oh, some giant mutant revelation. I know there are things coming up soon, which I'm really excited to speculate at the end of the episode about. But yeah, like I was happy. I enjoyed it. I sobbed through most of it. Good times. I think it was
I
a
even I even shed a bit of a tear, and again, coming from someone who really didn't give a rat's tail about these two characters to being so emotionally invested, this just comes to show when you give some characters a little bit of development, they didn't even need that much development. You care the
yeah,
stakes. I do have a few criticisms because one of my things I projected did come true, and I'm don't know how I feel about it, but
yeah,
I guess shall we break it down? Let's break
yeah,
down this episode. So, pretty much we basically pick up right
yeah.
where we
Right
left
where we
off.
left off. Yeah. We have a little bit of what we're setting up something that we're going to see a little bit later in the episode, which is magical shooting balls of energy at each other. Um, and Agatha saying in particular that she takes power from the undeserving,
Mm.
which to me goes, I want to know who have you taken it from previously? Tell me about your entire history. I love you. Yeah, I'm just like, can I just have like an Agatha backstory episode where she just goes around just ruining lives? I would be into that. But yeah, she sort of offers at the start of this, and then it comes up later. She was like, I'll take your power off you, and you get to keep your little world. So she kind of like tries to plant that seed. And Wanda does what Wanda does best, which is she picks up a car and throws it at her.
Oh
And
my
it was
god, do
really
you know I
nice.
loved that.
So nice to see like her returning to like classic Wanda things. Just pick up a car and throw it. Love it. Totally into it.
And of course, then the feat under the car was very Wicked
Witch of
Witch
the
of the
East.
East. I to the point I was expecting for the feet to curl and go under. I was waiting for it. I was just like, come on. But
Oh, so good.
yeah. When did she do it where she talks about the book and the Sorcerer Supreme? Is that a little bit
That
later?
is a little bit later.
You have to
Was that-
forgive me, folks. Unfortunately, I've had such a busy week. I have only seen this once, and so yeah, my memory, the feels are there, but my memories are like, which part was this? So, okay.
That's fine. I like as usual. I have noted down every line that I think matters, with a scene by scene note next to it because that's what I do. Uh,
Oh, White Vision shows up. That's what happens.
yeah, and White Vision turns up, and Wanda pretty much immediately clocks that it's like the real body of Vision. Um, and we get that lovely fake out, which I I think like the most recent time I've seen this is in Umbrella Academy, the first season where Vanya turns back up and Luther goes to like hug her and then is like crushing her. But yeah, just kind of got vibes of that. But it's a fake out we've seen plenty of times
Oh,
before.
and that sound
Um,
effect where it's
I
like,
know the crunch.
oh
And
god.
White Vision says, "And I was told you were powerful." Like, love it. But yeah, so our Vision turns up and is just peak dad because he's immediately asking for where the boys are. Which Wanda has just also sent them back off into the house as soon as Agatha let them go. Just I liked all the again as always love those kids. Really enjoyed that like when Agatha had hold of them. Tommy was like, "Let go of my brother," like not even himself. Like, oh,
Oh,
siblings.
I know.
And then the moment like Wanda's like get back in the house, like Tommy like uses his super speed to take Billy back into the house as well. And I'm just like, oh, good twins.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, in the credits, we have stunt doubles listed for Vision and the Vision, which I
Mm.
just really enjoyed. That they were like, we're going to separate them by just calling one Vision and one the Vision. Love it. Just keep running with it. That just
That
made me
works.
laugh for some reason. But yeah, so we have the Vision versus Vision, sort of fly off to have a fight together.
Fight in the sky. Sorry, this is the
Indeed.
only thing that's a very typical superhero movie thing.
Yes.
We're fighting in the sky.
Well, yes, it's either we're firing a laser beam into the sky, we got to
Yep.
stop the laser beam, or two people flying around and punching each other. And we got
Yep.
both of those. Because I
Woo!
mean, like when we started this show, one of the lines that we heard Paul Bettany say, like before it all started, was it starts off as like a sitcom and becomes a full blown Marvel movie. So yeah, I would say this is a full blown Marvel movie. We've got people punching each
Ticks
other
those
in the sky
boxes.
and a laser. We're good.
Woo!
Uh, even Doctor Strange had a laser, and they weren't even trying to stop the laser really. Um, but yeah, so whilst those two are having their fight, we cut to Monica and Pietro, or Fietro, as I think we are all loving calling him. And yeah, we just sort of re-established where they are, because I think last episode they weren't seen at all. I might be
Yeah.
wrong there. Um, But yeah, so he's still super speeding. He sort of knocks Monica back in a way that didn't feel like a super speed thing, but a super strength thing. So I'm still like
Yeah,
in
no,
two minds
tink.
about.
Mm,
I've still got some thoughts about him.
yeah.
I know nothing matters anymore, but I still have some feelings and thoughts about him. Um,
What did you think about the reveal that his name is he's Ralph Boner?
so okay, I I'm fine with it. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the fact that they were like, we can get Evan Peters to play fake Quicksilver and give him super speed so that he seems like fake Quicksilver. And it's the actor who previously also played Quicksilver. And his name is a pun. What?
I will say that did slightly disappoint me just to kind of I guess cuz that's a lot of work. I
Right?
really feel like they were proper trolling us.
It's such a weird thing to troll with.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I understand kind of curb your expectations, but when you get a character, the hair, the actor, the powers from a different, franchise that
Yeah.
just got what's the word? Not acclimated, but bought.
Acquisitioned.
Thank you. I knew it was like aqua something.
Acquired.
Acquisitioned. Like people that I mean, I just feel like we got kind of kicked in the gonads a little bit. Where I was just like,
It's I just think it was a weird thing to do.
I'm hoping there's still a payoff somewhere else because, like, at first I thought maybe the powers was, um, Agatha making him look like that, but Agatha has no reason to make him keep doing that when he's with Monica. So he clearly has these powers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know how to feel about it.
So there's two to me there are two options. One is someone at Marvel was like, wouldn't it be funny if we got Evan Peters instead of Aaron Taylor Johnson for this? And it's just a dumb joke made by somebody there. Or this universe's Quicksilver is the person in witness protection. And I'm still calling that's Town of Mutants. No, I'm kidding. Like this is the thing. I think that this is the reason why there was a lot of sort of speculation and grumbling about the finale because there was a lot of expectations set up just through virtue of people have a week to speculate.
Yeah.
When there's a new movie coming out, you don't get pieces of the movie one at a time. So you don't get to go, oh, I wonder what the twist to the movie is going to be. You sit there for an hour and a half and then you find out. Um, the fact that everything from the MCU has some basis in the comics and some basis very clearly not means that no one knows what's going to be important. And hence, this is
Yeah.
why we were like, oh, there's, Swarm, there's Grim Reaper, there's Mephisto. And like, we're calling out all these things that, like, are, in retrospect, cool Easter eggs. But you aren't to know that as it's running at the time.
Yeah.
And I've heard a couple of people being like, do you think that, they won't ever try and do this again, where they just like try and set up like a mystery? But I don't think there's any shows coming up that necessarily are like being sold as a mystery.
Mm.
They're either sold as like a cool action adventure thing,
Falcon and Winter
or
Soldier.
like cool action adventure thing, or cool action adventure thing with some snark, which would be Loki.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be doing that, but like I've seen people talking about, like the J.J. Abrams mystery box, and how like the mystery box has ruined WandaVision, because people were expecting there to be some revelation that would have to be unmasked in the last 30 seconds of the episode or whatever. But it's just I think it
But
was
I guess
fine.
this is why I guess it's tricky because again, say if it wasn't Evan Peters, it was just somebody else, then it just could I could take the throwaway. But to have that specific of a character,
Yeah,
the look, the like so specific, you can't be angry at fans for trying to speculate because it was so
exactly.
specific. You
Yeah.
know, it isn't like Star Wars where we're speculating over art and concepts and that. I mean, this is they put him in there like
Yeah.
so.
It's
I
just
don't
a
know that.
weird one, I think. Just
Yeah, so that's
a
why I'm
weird
just like,
thing.
oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so that's why, like, for me, I can't be angry at fans for having a lot of fan theories around him.
Yeah.
Now, when I say angry, I shouldn't say angry, but what I don't
Grumping. They're
grumping,
just grumpy.
but what I mean now, people getting upset that, like, Captain Marvel didn't show up or Doctor Strange, that's a bit different because then that's you needed to curb your expectations, but with the Seven Peters thing, it's like, I don't know, I just felt like a bit like a dick move, like, really, like, just kinda like Kevin Feige was like, "Oh, you know how we're gonna really, like, get him," and I mean, it just feels like the biggest that, like, "Na, na, na,
Yeah.
na, na, na." I don't know. Anyway, I'm hanging on to that too long, but I just so
No,
what
I
happens
feel it. I
next?
feel it. I feel it, man. But yeah, so we cut to sort of outside, and we get a little bit more of Hayward, who sucks. I
Mhm,
would argue even more now
mhm.
because his sort of mental path through this series has just gotten like more and more, God, that guy sucks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's just kind of interesting. Like he's looking for an excuse to use Vision as a weapon that he can control, but he has no way of doing that until like halfway through the season when he sends in that drone and it gets like Wanda's powers around
yeah,
it. Um, and by the end of this episode, he's like, "Yeah, we're just going to kill the Scarlet Witch and claim that my vision's actually her vision. It's fine." And it just feels like he just gets worse and worse as a person. And by the end of the episode, where he's like, "I'm going to shoot those children," you're just like, "You suck."
yeah, I mean, oh, he
Not a fan.
does.
Not a fan. But we do, of course, have the standout, which is Jimmy Woo once again turning up and just giving as good as he gets, and I just love it.
Yeah.
He's
Is
such a
this where he
treasure.
steals the phone and then because he's in handcuffs?
Yes, and he picks his way out of those handcuffs and goes flourish at the
Flourish!
end, which I just love. I was just like, has Scott Lang been just like entertaining you constantly? And yeah, he sort of calls for the backup, which he bluffed that he had coming. But yeah, it's just as usual. There's not very much of Jimmy or Darcy or Monica in this episode, really. Um, and I think I definitely did miss seeing Darcy in it.
Yeah.
But I did get the impression from the one shot she was in and the mid credits, she was not available for filming at this point. That's
Yeah.
the impression I got.
Very much so. Very
Like
much
the
so.
filming ran over and she wasn't available for this.
Yeah. That's funny you say that because I got that impression too. I was just like, this feels like a kind of wedged in there. Like we
Yeah.
literally just see her later T-bone. You're
Yeah,
like,
she was not on set this day.
yeah.
Just love it. But yeah, so we sort of head back inside the hex, and Wanda is out. Sort of, she's headed further into town to try and find Agatha, because she's sent the kids inside. Vision's fighting White Vision, and she's going to try and find Agatha. Um, so everyone's kind of dispersed. We get confirmation that the book is the Darkhold, which I think was like a big plot point in Agents of Shield,
It
which just
was.
never really grabbed me at all. And I know that I should have watched it because, like, isn't Ghost Rider in it? Like, it's like
Oh,
it
I
feels
don't
exactly
know.
like the jam that I would have enjoyed, but I just for some reason never quite clicked
I'm
with it.
trying I'm trying to remember which studio produced it because it wasn't part of Netflix's Marvel run. That
Ooh,
was
not
the
sure.
Defenders and thing. I think it might have been ABC. I just do you know what? And I know it's got homegirl Ming-Na Wen, who I love as obviously
Yeah.
Mulan, and she's Fennec Shan in Mandalorian. So she's one of the few that has like a triple hat trick going on. But I don't know, like Agents of Shield, I just never grabbed me, and maybe because it was one of the first kind of Marvel TV shows. I mean, we won't talk about oh, what was it? Not New Mutants,
Inhumans.
Inhumans. Yeah, we'll forget
I've got
that
some
one.
opinions about that one.
Oh yeah, so do we, so do I. But anyway, um, where was I going with that? I don't
But
know. It doesn't matter.
yeah, so but yeah, the Darkhold kind of showed up in that. And it's I don't think it looked like this.
No.
So them sort of saying it's the Darkhold was like, sure. It looks different now Agatha's got it for reasons. But I still don't see any reason why, like, whatever. But yeah, we get to see inside the sort of illustration, for want of a better word, of the Scarlet Witch. And Agatha specifically says that the Scarlet Witch is not born; she is forged. She has no need for coven, no need for incantation. Your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. It's your destiny to destroy the world. So, um, love that. Love everything about it. I'm here for it. I want that
Yeah.
written on a wall. I want that carved into my soul. I love that quite a lot. But yes, especially the comment about the Sorcerer Supreme, which
Yep.
is something we obviously see later on in the episode. But yes, really, really nice explanation of the uh, poorly defined powers of the Scarlet Witch.
Yes. Exactly. It didn't seem too spoon feeding, but kind of like, okay, people who want answers, like here you go.
Yeah.
That's why kind of thing. It's interesting. One of the kind of like Easter egg kind of videos I watched that page where you first see obviously the illustration, there's a clear hex shape around her, and then on the other page is multiple circles where it's kind of again this whole speculate responsibly, but like it's maybe hinting multiverse kind of
Mm.
stuff. But yeah, no, I perked up. It was one of those, me and my better half were doing our little meerkat thing where we went ooh, kind of like, hey, we know what that means. But
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. We also get to sort of see all the townsfolk all get released from their mind control. Um, and they're not angry. Well, they are, but they know that if they show that they're angry towards her, that she could probably just kill them.
Yeah.
And there's like a really sort of excellent little exchange with Dottie, whose name is actually Sarah. In my head, for some reason, whenever I think about this episode, I'm like, yes, she said her name was Laura. And then I went back and I was like, she said Sarah? That's not what my mind told me. Um, but she sort of says, like, if you want, my daughter could be friends with your kids, or she could be the school bully, like trying to like suggest parts. Like she knows exactly what's going on here, that it is a like they're cast in a world. But she also says that the thing that kind of everyone, well, it was it was explicitly said, but it wasn't sort of said in like a this is what's happening kind of way, that all the kids are just safely tucked in bed until the need arises.
Yeah.
But Sarah specifically says, please let her out of her room, or at least let me hug her.
Mm.
So it's just kind of interesting to see how everyone's been affected by this. And I think even Herb, or who not Herb. I think it's him who says something like, he used to resist her, but now he doesn't even know why he's doing it. And you
Mm.
sort of wonder if there's levels of willpower that maybe people have had in resisting this, and some people have gone further than others in being able to resist it, perhaps, or maybe if they interacted with her more, perhaps that caused them to lose more, if you know what I mean.
Well, what I thought was interesting in this part was, yeah, it wasn't even like anger anymore from like the townspeople. It was just like desperation. And again,
Yeah,
I think that the chick that was in that '70s show was like, just just kill me. Like if that's like
yeah,
if that's what you want, like kind of thing. And of course, and again, Olsen just plays it wonderfully, where she's like losing control because it's not her taking the spell off them. It's Agatha basically doing that perfect, like almost like turning the zombies against the person
yeah,
kind of thing. And she's just like, no, 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 duh, and I mean, just oh god, the way she's just kind of like shivering and just like you just see that she's just losing control. And
yeah.
yeah, it was
Especially with
just
the way she's going, you're fine, you're fine. I
yeah,
was reminded quite a lot of the episode where she's, talking to Cameron. She's like, "It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
yeah,
It's fine."
yeah.
I sort of got that same impression with just like, if you say it enough, maybe it'll be true.
It'll be true.
Um,
Doesn't work.
but yeah, like you can see that she's still not like 100% in control of things, with the fact that she clearly just wants them to shut up, but the way that that is manifesting itself is, just strangle everybody. um
Yeah, which
as
is
you do.
interesting. Because we flash back to the boys, and not Tommy. Who's the other boy's
Billy.
name? Billy. I think his powers sees the future, because we saw her like firing at people and choking people before
Yes.
we saw it on screen.
Yes,
So
exactly. That was
he,
actually something else
I
I was going to say, was like,
yeah,
Wiccan's powers are, as with Scarlet Witch, very poorly defined. And
hmm
because previously in the episodes where we saw sort of, he was seeing Vision outside with the military, that was kind of like a what's happening now. And
hmm
it would have just been really nice to see that sort of like, kind of like the way over the course of this season we saw Wanda's powers developed. It would have been nice to have also seen Billy's powers develop. I mean, we did, but like even more so.
yeah. But no,
Um,
I thought that was very interesting. I was like, "Oh, you see
yeah.
the future,"
Hmm.
kind of thing. I was like, "Oh," so that where it was like, because yeah, with the other one, because it was a very like long Kim going, they need help kind of thing in the like several episodes before then, it
Yeah.
wasn't really defined. But this was a definite. Oh, okay, no, he not only can he feel things, he can see the future kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Um, so at this point, obviously, Billy and Tommy, after Billy gets this premonition, they start heading back to Wanda. And Wanda sort of goes, "Well, hey, I can stop this. Like, now that I know what's happening, I can stop this. I can, get rid of the town." And to be honest, even by this point, I was still like, which way is this going to go? Is this going to
hmm
go to the hex turns into nothing, or the hex turns into the whole world? Because it could
yeah,
have gone either way. Like,
yeah,
I can see like maybe a draft of the show where it was just like, well, in order for Vision and the boys to be able to exist, I can just make it do over the whole world. But I don't think at this point she's strong enough for that yet.
yeah.
Maybe one day she would be.
Yes.
But yeah, obviously, like at this point, she's still not sort of strong enough to do anything quite that dramatic. Just all of New Jersey. Um, um, but yeah, so and White Vision are sort of having their fight up in the sky. But as Wanda starts to sort of take down the hex so that everyone can start like running out, which is funny because they clear the town square, but they definitely don't get out because they're all still there at the end of the episode. And I was like, you guys need to run faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone who's inside is trying to get out, and everyone who's outside is trying to get
Trying
in.
to get in.
Um, yeah. So yeah, we sort of see Vision and the boys are sort of heading towards Wanda as they sort of start to disintegrate the same way that Vision did when he first left the hex. And I still think that it's such a good looking effect.
Mm.
Um, there's some sections of the episode that don't look amazing. There's near to the beginning, something maybe, oh, Vision throws White Vision into like a truck or something and it explodes, and it's not a great comp. And like later in the episode where they're flying around, there's some like slightly dodgy roto. But the effect of them like disintegrating is absolutely gorgeous, and
Well, it's
it's
something
absolutely flawless.
different. Yeah, and it's something different too because like we get the particles, we get but this is like a cool like cuz like it's like chunks, but then they do like this like
It's almost
static
digital.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different. So yeah, I'm with you that and of course when we say these things about like visual effects, we are not criticizing the artists or anything like
No, I'm
we just
criticizing the people giving notes.
yeah.
The people
Yeah.
going, yeah, that's fine, I guess."
Yeah, as two people who obviously do this for the day job, we do pick up those things. But well, yeah, even some of the digi doubles. I mean, digi doubles are hard, but yeah, there was a few kind of rubbery
Mhm.
going on.
Although, I will say, um, any time that we had Agnes flying around, even though she did fly in a really weird way, where she was just like head first, bullet like flying, she still looked really good, and I think
Yeah.
that's to do with the outfit. I think
Hmm.
the sort of the swirly fabric on the outfit really masks any rubberiness that comes from a digidouble that's being animated like that. Whereas Vision, who's just skin tight suit with cape, it's so easy to spot when things just get a little bit off. So yeah, I think the hair and the flowing fabric really like
Hides that
benefited
kind of.
with
I
Agatha.
I agree. I agree. So when do we get this ship of Theseus conversation?
Yeah, so they everybody kind of comes together. Yeah,
In our
everybody
Incredibles pose.
yeah, everybody comes together. It's wonderful. They're adorable. And Vision says, "Your mother and I never really prepared you for this." And I just
This was
love
a
the
bit
idea that they like
cheesy.
sat down at one point and they were just like, "At some point, we're going to have to explain to them how to have a superhero fight, aren't we?" Like, you just see them like sitting at the kitchen table, like, "Oh God, they've got superpowers. They're going to have a fight someday."
It's almost like the superhero equivalent of, like, having the sex talk, where it's
Yeah,
like, "Oh god, we have to have this talk.
yeah,
Alright, Billy and Tommy, we gotta sit down. So when
yeah.
2, people have superpowers,
They will inevitably fight one another.
something's going to happen, and it's completely natural." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It just kinda like
and I love that. So
uh,
yeah, Wanda again goes after Agatha, but she also instructs the kids to, deal with the military who've arrived. And I just really enjoy like the looks on their faces where they're just like, yes.
"Yes, let's do
And yeah,
it."
and that's when Vision and White Vision take off and end up in the library, which is, I think, such a nice way to punctuate what could have just been, laser fights. Um, Especially with like Vision versus Vision. It was really nice to see a fight where they were utilizing the phasing thing. And it was a really nicely choreographed fight where, White Vision tries to take the Mind Stone out of the Vision's forehead and he just phases through, and then there's like a block with the arm, and it's a really nice use of like the Vision like phasing ability. But at some point they are just shooting laser beams out of their heads at each other, and it was nice to get to a point where it was just like, no, we're going to have this moment in the library where Vision is going to logic himself to death.
Well, the
And I
other
was just
thing too,
into it.
the show does a really good job is establishing geography because this
Yes.
also happened when the camera goes back and we saw it then go through the window and we established where
Yes.
Monica was with Pietro. This also helped going, here's the library. You remember that library we had in episode 2?
Yeah.
where they were doing the neighborhood watch. We're
Yep.
here now. So it kind of helped tie everything where it's like, kind of where you are in this world. And
Yeah.
plus it
It
just also was very appropriate to be in a library with this like logical, but
yeah,
oh,
philosophical.
this was very deep. And I could be quite deep, but I was just like, oh wow, okay.
It was just such a wonderful um sort of use of there's like a trope in movies and TV shows where you have like a robot or a computer, and you give them a logical a logic puzzle that's, you know, like a paradox that makes them like break down because the logical paradox is just too much for their robot brain to handle. But it was kind of a nice sort of play on that, because it wasn't him just being like, think about the ship of Theseus. You can't be you can't be real because of the ship of Theseus. It was just like, oh no, we're having like a full conversation about this. It's an actual philosophical
It is.
conversation rather than
Yeah.
just being, um, I said the words that make you switch off,
Well, yeah,
which
because I
sometimes is
mean,
what happens, right?
well, it's already set a slew of people on Twitter to research what the ship of Theseus
Yeah, yeah,
talk is, which is also appropriate because if we think about it, the Odyssey, I mean, this has been our own kind of Odyssey in this whole universe kind of thing too. But then basically we established that I don't even know how to like explain this, but basically the only difference is he just doesn't have the memories,
yeah,
basically. The memories are locked away. And
yeah,
our vision is those memories. What I was basically saying the other day in our previous episode, he's the soul
yeah.
and the white vision is the
It's the
body. And
body.
what happened?
Yeah.
Guess what? The soul went into the body and vision is alive.
That was a jump.
Well, no, but I mean, like what I mean is that it's like we kind of got that confirmation in that conversation because he does something where he like after they share back and forth this
Yeah, yeah.
conversation that then he like touches White Vision's kind of mind stone or whatever. And his eyes change that color, which to me I translated as okay. Basically, the soul is back in the body, and correct me if I'm wrong. Then White Vision just kind of skedaddles out of there, kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
I don't know if it's quite like I don't feel like it's quite a the soul is in the body thing yet.
Mm,
It to me it kind of feels like, and let's hit up some dated references here. It kind of feels like Angel,
mm,
where you've got like the vampire that has like the knowledge of all the things they did, but there's no emotional attachment to it, so they don't feel bad about the fact that they keep murdering hundreds of people. And that
mm,
Angel's the one with the soul, so he actually feels bad about it, and that's why he doesn't kill people. I feel like White Vision is now one of those vampires who has all those memories now, which have been like unlocked, but he doesn't really have the same like emotional attachment to them that White
mm,
Vision does. But it was interesting to see that, like, after not a lot of reflection, White Vision was like, "Oh, I'm a weapon that was designed to be easily controlled." Like, it doesn't take a lot for him to kind of like clock that. It's just that he never sort of sat down and thought about it, because he was just like, "Must complete my mission of destroying
exactly.
stuff." But like all he needs is to just like sit down with someone and like have a conversation. But I
Have a
do
cup of
think
tea.
I do think that's probably how we're going to get Vision back. Um, I'm excited to see where he turns up next. I hope it isn't going to be a multiverse of madness. I hope it's like 3 or 4 films down the line and it's completely out of left field. Desperately hoping for that. Because I think it'll be like, if it kind of gets resolved in like the next time we see Wanda, I feel like the ending of this episode won't be enough of a the payoff won't be there. Do you know what I mean? It'll just be
Exactly.
like, oh, and then it got fixed.
Yeah, and I guess that was my biggest criticism and worry in our previous episode that I was like, "Oh god, are we going to?" And that's why I guess I was very much like, "Well, crap, it happened." So
Yeah.
I like your I never thought about that with the whole like angel reference and everything that I'm kind of like, "Okay, no, that's a good point." And I hope not because I just it just feels convenient. And yeah, and it just really, you're absolutely right, takes that emotion of that later scene in this finale, kind of that
Yeah,
emotional pull, and you're just like, there's no stakes, so you're just kind of like,
exactly. Because
okay.
it also felt like, again, there could have been an older draft where our Vision sort of pours himself into White Vision, and then it's normal Vision. He can go wherever he wants, and he can do whatever he wants, and Wanda and Vision can be happy.
Yeah,
But because there's also the kids to worry about, I think making sure that Wanda is on her own and she will have to go and do various things in order to sort this out.
yeah.
Um, and then perhaps she sort of gets Vision as like a reward for that. Obviously, like that's not how it works, but like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
could be a nice arc to the story. But yeah, I just sort of the other thing I wanted to say about this was like White Vision, like that close up of his eyes. I am obsessed with how that looked, like the little sparking lines and the actual texture on the eyeballs, and I was like, oh, give me
Well
that as a
done.
wallpaper right now. I
Well
want that in
done.
8K.
Put that in your monitor. You're like, yep,
Yeah,
there we go.
bring me the highest resolution image of that, please.
It's amazing. But so then what happens next?
So, we get again Wanda returning to classic Wanda form, and she does her amazing like uh, doodly doos on Agnes to make her sort of like have nightmares. But we get that sort of the sort of sped up as she walks up behind her, the same thing that we got in sort of Age of Ultron and things like that. And I was just
Yes, old
like, they did it
school.
again.
Yes, even Cheryl clocked that. She was like, "Oh, we're going old school with this,"
Yeah.
and that was cool. That
She's
was
back
cool.
she's relying on the stuff that she knows, right? She's not going to try and do anything new or fancy. She's going to do the things that she knows, which is throwing cars at people and doodly doos on their brains. I'm not
Uh,
wrong. Uh,
no, you're not. You're not right. I just love it.
but yeah, so we sort of get back to that the previous set from like one episode ago,
Yeah.
where Agatha was being surrounded by all those witches, except they are now little husks on the floor. And Wanda is obviously doing her relive your nightmares doodly do. Um, and I would love to hear your take on sort of what's going on here.
Just I guess just kind of like I feel like this is going to be kind of the vibe that we will get in like the Doctor Strange, wants, multiverse of madness. That's such a mouthful. Blah, 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 blah. But I mean, I got it, but I mean, I guess very quickly I was like, okay, homegirl's gonna is it's kind of like one of those. It made me think of the Cell a little bit, where it's like, oh, you're in my brain, and oh, guess what? You think I don't know. I just was kind of like, hang on. So I mean, it didn't surprise me that first she had Agatha, but then Agatha turned the witches on her, and then it was just very kind of zombie Day of the Dead kind of thing. But we did get something that you were hoping for.
Yeah, and we got something even more than I was hoping for.
So I'm trying to remember because again, I've only had like one viewing
Yeah, no
of
worries.
this. So basically, Wanda's pinned, and Agatha's
Yes.
like, take your power," and then her power basically, I don't know what she says, but basically the old school Scarlet Witch crown, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, manifests much like how a magical kind of crown manifested on Agatha's mother, which we were
Yeah.
hoping. We're like, Helen said it. She was like, "How cool would it be if we got that?" And I literally was cheering. I was like, "She called it! Yes!" And it looked awesome. It had the very cool, like, kind of crystal. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like smoky or like the other magic. It was very kind of like crystal. I was pumped. I loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. And it did kind of feel like that was the moment where she sort of like, based on the things that happened later, like that's the moment where she kind of like got that power sort of properly awakened.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously after this there's some other stuff going on, but it does feel like she's a little bit more in control, even if she doesn't look like it. Because she is like Agatha is doing her sort of like, I'll suck all the magic out of you.
Yeah.
um and she specifically calls out like, give me your power and I will correct the flaws in your original spell. So this is something that she pretty much said right at the beginning of the episode. She was like, hey, if I take your power, then I can like just leave you alone here. So she's saying it again. She's like really like pushing on this. And we get, a classic Marvel shooting magic balls at each other fight. uh, um
In the sky.
yep, it wouldn't be Marvel if we weren't, launching energy beams at each other somehow. um but and I was expecting, and I was glad that this didn't happen, but I was anticipating like, oh, Agatha takes all of Wanda's magic and then
Me
it's too
too.
much and then
Yeah.
she explodes or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just anticipating that old chestnut again.
Yeah.
um and it was really nice to see that actually we kind of did see something that's from the comics, which is that Wanda learned something from Agatha.
Yes.
She learned, if I cast these runes, then you can't use your magic.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying, where like she is, even though she's like getting all drained and she looks like a little husk lady, she's still very much in control at this
Yeah.
point, which is why I'm saying that I think that that crown is her. Like, she's got it now.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think that everything that Agatha said to her about like blah blah blah, I'll reverse your spell and make it all better. And then she's like, taunting her about, the world is broken just like you. Um, I don't think any of that was even heard by Wanda, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
I
impression.
I loved the kind of reveal where, because I was like you, the way it was kind of happening, because we had kind of had that set up initially in the
Yeah.
beginning of the episode of taking the power and things. I was like, oh, are we go? I didn't expect the blowing up,
Well, like whatever it is, she
but
just overloaded and then blah.
I was like, oh, are we going there to where Wanda? I almost kind of, there was a split second that I felt like she was like, here, take it. You think you can do better, like almost kind of like almost willingly giving it, and like Wanda's like, do you know what? I don't want it, kind of thing. And then of course I was wrong. So it's interesting. We kind of got the same vibe, but like a different motivation kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
I kind
I
of
was like,
yeah, I kind of got the impression that she she was giving Agatha a bunch of power as a distraction, because like about halfway through she kind of like just like checks her hand and she sees that it's all shrivelly, and it's like she's going, okay, how much more of this can I do whilst actually doing, like, casting these
yeah,
runes. Like, you again, it's a second or third watch kind of thing, and I'm
yeah,
really looking forward to going back and just doing a whole binge rewatch of the show. um but yeah, it does, like, it's not like she only just thought of the runes after Agatha and her had done their like laser joining, you know, superhero nonsense.
yeah. But no, I loved the kind of seeing the big runes in the sky, and
Yeah.
that was cool because that was a nice kind of payoff
I
kind of
actually
thing. That
gasped when I saw the
yeah,
first rune. I was like, oh, she learned something from Agatha. That's actually
so
what I
did
said.
we. We didn't say that, but we were like, oh, like Cheryl clocked it first. She's like, she did the runes, and I was like, oh, good call,
Yeah.
good call. So then what happens after we see the runes, and then obviously Agatha's
And
power
Agatha
has no.
gets all her power just like like leached out of her by the looks of it. As like Wanda really does become the Scarlet Witch, and we get to see that outfit, which I was
Oh,
hoping we would see after that little glimpse of it in the previous episode, and it is gorgeous. I
Yes,
am
it's so
extremely on board with it.
I think the costume was a great mixture of kind of it was obviously feminine enough, but it was also empowering and warrior like, and I'm all for it, and I'm happy. It's not like a Black Widow kind of sexy, like it's functional but feminine. I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, she had one of those, like, cool, like, butt skirts where it's not like a cape that comes out from the shoulders, but it comes from the waist, and I
Yeah,
always think that just looks so cool.
yeah,
But yeah, like, the crown looks great, and she looks fabulous, and I am extremely impressed with it. We're gonna see a million people in variations of that outfit as soon as, Comic-Cons come back online.
yeah,
I'm absolutely certain of it. And that hair as well, like big hair. I was just like,
yeah.
yes, she looks great.
Yeah, loved it. Loved
Oh,
it.
yeah. But yeah, so she sort of brings them both down to ground. And Agatha is kind of like, I think it's like the ruins of the gazebo. Uh, they're all sitting in. Um, and there's sort of an excellent little moment where sort of Wanda explains that she's gonna, leave her in Westview, playing the role of the nosy neighbor. And Wanda says, "I'm sorry." Agatha says, "No, you're not. You're cruel." And Wanda just gives this little smirk of, "Yeah, I know I am, but you suck."
You started this, like,
Yeah, and like she just does not care. Like
yeah,
I've seen a couple of people being like, that's such like a villainous thing to do, like after seeing how all the townspeople felt after, everything that had happened. Um yeah, but also she sucks.
yeah.
And also, like Agatha says, you're gonna need me. And Wanda says, well, if I do, I know where to find you.
Yeah,
And I think it would be great if like if we did see her like come back kind of like maybe in the same sort of way that in Thor Ragnarok they went to Stephen Strange very briefly. um I would quite enjoy it if they sort of like somebody, whoever it is, needs some knowledge of this magic, and they'll just go and visit Agatha in her little house in Westview, being um, painfully chipper.
yes. Okie dokie, neighbor.
Yeah,
Oh,
I love it.
so then after that, we are, I guess, Vision. I think Vision joins her, and then they head back to the house, don't they?
Yeah, and we get to see sort of Vision and Wanda together in their like full superhero outfits, like walking through town. And she's made it nighttime so that they can put the kids to bed. Um, but yeah, it's just such a great like pair of outfits, like to see them in like full MCU glory together.
Yeah.
After especially after seeing them in the Halloween episode where you can see like those classic outfits that are just so silly, and then you get to see these new ones that are still a little bit silly because it's still, comic book movies, but also just so cool.
Yes. But
Ugh.
so then yeah, we get the very heartbreaking scene of putting the boys to bed.
Yeah. Um, Although there is like a little line here that I think quite a few people have latched onto,
Mm,
as they're putting them to bed and sort of they're heading out the door. Wanda says to them, "Thanks for choosing me to be your mum,"
yes.
which, to be honest, is not like a crazy thing to say. Like I've seen so many like cheesy like greetings cards that are like, "Thanks for choosing me to be your daughter," and things like that, where you're just
Just like
like,
that.
that's the voice I read them in. I'm just like, mm-hmm. Um, and you kind of get that, but like given what happens later in the episode, you kind of go, where are you from? How did you choose that?
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, just an interesting little phrasing that maybe,
I also
she could have said
I
literally anything else. Like, she could have said, like,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm so happy to have been your mum," and things like that. But instead, she very specifically said, "Thanks for choosing me to be your mum."
yeah,
Like, she didn't do this knowingly, but she has some inkling that they are more than just things that she's conjured, right?
yes, yes. So I don't know. I did find that very interesting. I also saw something on Twitter that was very like poof, break my heart. Was like, oh, Billy can read minds. He knows what's going to happen because he
Oh
can read
yeah,
Wanda's mind. I was like,
but to be fair, like the two of them look very like they kind of get what's going. Like, it's unsaid, but they kind of get what's going on.
yeah,
Um, and like it's not like they're like little kids. They're supposed to be like 10, I think.
yeah,
And they've obviously developed, even if it's a short period of time, they've obviously developed a significant relationship even with each other as siblings, because they care for each other as siblings a lot. And I think that those two definitely have some kind of like knowledge of like how like the gravity of the situation.
yeah,
Because I think any other 2 10-year-old boy twins would probably not be this chill about going to bed after a day beating up the military. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
they would probably be like, "Let's bounce on the bed for the next 7 hours." And they're very like, "Yeah, it's time." So yeah, strong feelings.
But
Love those kids. I want them in everything, and I'm sure that if we do see Billy and Tommy again, they're going to be like teenagers or grown ups, and we'll never see those two kids again. But I love them, and I just want them to
oh,
know that they're great.
so they were so well
So well
good
cast.
casting, and yeah. And then our lovely couple goes downstairs. I think they go downstairs.
They do, yes. And
Yes.
Wanda is going to like turn out all the lights to like. I guess the intention is we're all going to bed, right?
Well, it's also
Um,
the end. That's a very sitcom-y
End of
end.
the
Like
episode,
there's
yeah,
yeah, end of a season series
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. When people
That
turn off the light and go out or whatever.
yeah, exactly. But I like that you think that's what's going to happen, and then Vision turns the light on and says it's bad luck to say goodbye in the dark. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm so using that
I
in my
know.
life. If I ever have to like go to work in the morning or something and it's super dark, my poor wife, I'm turning the light on and going, it's bad luck to say goodbye in the dark. She's gonna be like, shut up.
I love the idea of you using it for something really mundane, like going to work, when it's supposed to be for like really serious occasions.
It is. I'm very sentimental in everyday situations.
I love that so much. But
But
yeah, we kind of get sort of the sort of two big sort of not quite thesis statements of the series, but kind of.
yeah,
Whereas Wanda says to Vision, "You are the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in me," which is a great thanks for confirming, because
yes,
people were speculating all over the place.
yes,
Um, she says, "You're a body of wires and blood and bone that I created," which I just think's really interesting that she didn't make him vibranium. She made him like a person. I just found that really
yeah.
interesting. She says, "You are my sadness and my hope, but mostly you're my love." Which, like I say, is just like a nice kind of like thesis statement.
Well, it's
Like,
very
this is just
deep.
the show is just grief. The show,
But if you also think about it, like, because what's that line again? You are my sadness,
sadness and my hope.
which, because obviously, Vision was Ultron
Mm-hmm.
and killed Pietro, but
Mm-hmm.
then also my hope because then he became Vision and they built their bond, and then through building that bond, built their love. So I don't know. I just took that line very deeply. I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, that is powerful, and that's going to be in all the fan art. There's
Yeah.
already some fantastic fan art that I've started like retweeting on our where streams come true, because it's just beautiful. I love fan art.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
And
obviously
and
these two are a proper established relationship. I just love it. Like, there's some great
yeah.
artists out there, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And they're wonderful.
yeah,
But I think the bit that we're probably going to see a lot of in posters and artwork and stuff is what Vision sort of replies with, which is, I have been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what I might be next? We've said
Mm-hmm.
goodbye before, so it stands to reason we'll say hello again.
Yep.
And it's just such a fabulous, like, those two, like, bits of dialogue are
Oh,
just
I got
so
goosebumps.
good.
Just like,
And it's
because
just
I
me
have.
saying it, and I'm not
Oh,
an
I
actor
know.
or anyone good at it.
This is
But
where
it's just
I did
really
tear
cool.
up. Yeah, this is where
Oh,
I was starting to tear up.
by this point, I was just like, I was like this, hiding my face, and like shaking, like sobbing, and I could feel Brad just like looking at me out
I
the
hate when
corner
you
of his
I
eye.
hate when you do that. Like, this happened to me in Endgame, like when Tony Stark
Oh,
goes, and
I think I cried throughout pretty much the entire movie. It was that screening is chaos. Like,
I just remember, because when you're trying to stifle a sob, your body does this thing where like involuntary things happen, and you shake.
yep.
Which, being epileptic, of course, people kind of, my
Oh
wife will
no.
look at me like, "You okay?" But
Like, no,
me,
I'm just crying.
I'm stifling, and then of course for me comes out the air where I just go. I can't breathe because I'm trying not to sob, and noses, and I just remember seeing it, and it was like our second time we saw
Yep.
Endgame, and I just went. And she was like, we can watch the first movie, he comes back, and I'm like, it's the performance, it's the performance. And it's just
I love that. I love that, like, we could just watch the movies
the
where he's alive
logic.
again.
You're seeing my relationship here. I'm the
That's so
emotional one.
funny.
She is the logical one. She's like, baby, it's a film. We can watch the first one and he'll be back. It's just like, it's not the
That's
point.
hilarious. I love
It's
that
the
so much. But
so
yeah, so cried all the way through that, and sort of even worse as like the hex sort of like draws in, because obviously the epicenter of the hex was their house, so it stands to reason that it
yes.
would shrink down to their house as well. And we kind of see the house go through all of its different time periods that she put it in before we end up back in that the empty lot that Vision purchased for them.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we see her. She just abandons her car there, I guess, and walks into town to, I guess, do a shame walk.
Walk of
Um,
shame. Shame.
yeah,
Shame.
but yeah, she sees Monica, who kind of, it feels like she's like forgiving her on behalf of everybody else who doesn't seem to have forgiven her. They're all still very clearly, you know, afraid of her. They don't look like they're having a happy time.
Yeah. There's a lot of unease still
Yeah.
there.
And Monica says that, like, given the chance, she would also have brought her mother back, so she completely understands where Wanda's coming from.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, it boils it down to, you just wanted these people, like this person back, but it kind of ignores the fact that she also mind controlled a town for a month. And like made them experience like significant trauma. And she's like, "Oh no, you just wanted to bring the person back." It's like she also did some other stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
That's where it's like, this is a fictional film, and
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so Wanda sort of changes back into her gorgeous
Mm,
Scarlet Witch outfit and just flies away. Um,
yep.
just super cool.
Yep. And then
We see her sort of
roll.
get to the edge of Westview, take a look back, and she's off and roll
Yep.
credits.
Well, start of credits, and then we get our mid-credit scene,
Yeah,
which I'm trying to remember which that one. Oh, yes.
Monica.
Yes. So basically, we see Monica, and they're like, "Oh, well, someone wants to see you in the theater."
Yeah,
So, or cinema, wherever you're from and what you call it. And we go in there and we see a lady. But then the lady reveals herself to be.
scroll.
That was my second cheering moment where I was like, yes! Helen called it! We have
Literally.
scrolls.
So, like, first of all, classic movie or TV logic, which is like you're asked to go into like a theater or a cinema or something like that where there's like a load of steps and then a stage at the bottom. And people always go all the way to the front and then they're like, there's nobody here. What is this? And I'm always like, you should have noticed that when you were at the top of those stairs and bolted. Like, what are you doing coming all the way down here, Monica? You're smarter than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see that I think they were an FBI agent.
Yeah.
Actually reveals themselves to be a Skrull, saying specifically that they are they work with a friend of your mother's,
Mhm.
and cryptically, although not that cryptically, when Monica asks where, they just go. So either they are upstairs or in space.
In space.
So
No one points to say upstairs. Like they just be like,
I was
"That's
kidding.
upstairs." I know you are.
But you know, and then Nick Fury turns into Spider-Man, jumps down from the rafters.
Yes.
But yeah, so last time we saw Nick Fury, it was in the end credits of Spider-Man, and we saw that he was in the Sword base, which is in space. So we can assume that of all the people who are male and possibly in space, Nick Fury is probably the only person that it would be, as Talos is still on Earth pretending to be Nick Fury.
Mm,
So again, setting up for Captain Marvel 2, which is super. I think we've kind of got some cool ideas about what might be happening there. Actually, something we didn't mention before was Monica using her photon powers to stop the bullets when
that
Hayward
was
was shooting at
cool.
children.
Oh, I know, because he
Um,
sucks.
can't believe him. But yeah, so like that's another demonstration of her power. And she also, when she was talking to Ralph Boner, she again used her power to sort of see where the energy was and saw that it was on the necklace that he was wearing. So she's starting to get a grip of what she's doing now, which is really
Yeah.
cool. So we might be able to see her sort of like team up with Captain Marvel, do some cool stuff. But yeah, it's just gonna be interesting to see sort of what sort of dangers they're going to be encountering with those two being incredibly powerful. It becomes sort of like, who do you put up against Superman kind of questions.
Yeah.
Just knowing that Captain Marvel can literally just fly through a war spaceship and just disintegrate it or whatever.
Ta-da!
You kind of sort of, okay, so it's going to have to be a different kind of problem than just, well, you can blow it up.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm excited to see how they do that because DC so far haven't been amazing with what to do with Superman. So it'd be nice to see how Marvel does what to do with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Um,
Question.
Go on.
Do you think the little, I shouldn't say the little, but do you think the scroll that appeared to Monica was the little one that was in Captain Marvel?
Definitely not,
Okay.
because Monica would have there would have been some more recognition between them because
Fair.
Monica and that kid would have been the same, like they were the same age and like they were hanging out together and they obviously had like they've even if it was only briefly they did obviously form
Create a
some kind of
bond.
bond.
Fair.
And it would have been like they would have been like, hey, it's me, instead of just super secret Nick Fury business.
Okay.
um
Fair.
but it would definitely be nice to see that character again, just to see like that they've also grown up and done something
I
else.
want
Like maybe they'll be on the space station, but
I want them to
who
have a
knows?
secret handshake because secret handshakes were a big thing in the 90s,
How
and
good would that be?
that would be amazing. They show up, boop, 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 like give
Yeah.
me the secrets because that's again in time. Yeah, give me that secret handshake, damn it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the
No,
simple
that would be
things.
great.
And then we get not one but two post credits.
Indeed. Um, and this is a kind of a link back to what Agatha said earlier in the episode about being more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. As the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange needs to be unconscious whilst he's astrally projecting. Wanda
Mm.
can make tea. She can be up and about and feigning being secluded whilst in fact astrally projecting.
It's been speculated that she's based. People are speculating by the kind of carvings on the cabin and things that she's back in Sokovia. What do
I
you think?
don't know. It's kind of hard. Like, to be honest, I saw that and I went, Canada?
Oh, I thought New
I wouldn't know.
Asgard, you
I
know?
don't know. It didn't feel Finlandy to me,
True. It did
but
now
it felt
the
like
actual
extremely North America.
yes. It did feel very Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
Vancouver,
Like
like
the trees and everything, it just felt like kind
yeah.
of that's kind of I don't know. Um but yeah, it could also be Sokovia for sure.
But yeah, I because at first I was like, "Oh, there's two of them." And then I was like, "Oh, wait. No, she's basically have like faking out like, "Hey, here's what if a camera or a drone was watching me."
The
But
fastest drone on earth. We just went across like I truly I watched it and the first thing I said was that's a fast drone. Honestly,
but
watch it again, you'll be like, wow, they've either sped up that footage or that's a rocket that they're shooting at Elizabeth Olsen.
I'll have to look at the water because you can always tell in the water if
Yeah.
something's been sped up. But yeah, but we see her doing, and it looks like some similar,
Witchy
very like
things.
yeah, she does her little wiggly woo hand things, and
Yeah.
but also a
Studying
little
the
bit.
Darkhold.
Mm-hmm. And some people are saying that music behind her is very similar to Doctor Strange as well, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
But
yeah,
obviously, most importantly about that post-credit scene, obviously we see her being doing all her astrally projecting learning. But what we do hear at the end is the sounds of Billy and Tommy. Uh,
yes,
where are they? Could it be another universe which we may visit in a multiverse of madness?
maybe.
Please. Um, but yeah,
Please.
so there is another movie which isn't on like the main sort of slate. Like, there's like the list of like major things that are coming out. Um, the Mutants, because
Mm.
we've got to reboot everything constantly. But The Mutants is the new sort of mutant movie from Marvel, where we'll be sort of apparently, the information we have so far is that they are, rebooting the X-Men universe, which is
Again.
interesting to see. Like, I absolutely again, but kind of in the whole Spider-Man way. It's like, no, but for real this time. Like now we're actually able to connect it to things this time instead of with like the first two goes of Spider-Man where it's just like um it's just kind of it's I'm just interested to see sort of what are they going to be doing? Like, are they going to be saying an event causes mutants? Are we going to say they were always here? Are we going to redefine some of the characters we already know as mutants? Oh, what's going to happen here? That's what I'm kind of interested in. And what I would really, really love to see, as I'm sure you can tell I'm about to say, is Billy and Tommy in the Mutants. I would love to see Wiccan and Speedy just turning up as, like, I don't know, some awesome teenagers or something.
Well,
Um,
is it aren't they in a team like a in the comics or something like Young Avengers or something like that?
Yeah, and that's why I was really disappointed to see them go because I was like, oh man, they could have joined up with like Kate Bishop and all these other like cool characters, but never mind. Perhaps we will get them some other way.
Well, because I saw recently also because they were I forgot like we're getting the Eternals this year. We're getting finally Black Widow.
Black Widow.
I think they finally were like, yep, we're not gonna wait till the cinemas.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get this poor film out, kind of thing.
Yeah. Such a
But
shame.
I saw there's a Ms. Marvel.
Hmm.
Now I don't know if that's a show
It's a
or
show, I think.
okay. Which I'm actually really excited because I'm only now familiar with Miss Marvel because of the video game.
Hmm.
So the Kamala Khan, like I'm really excited about that, and I think that'll be some fun stuff. And that could be where we're gonna have Monica show up because of Carol Danvers may. I don't know. I'm very curious to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how this
yeah.
all plays out. But to
There's
your point, I was like, this could also be where Wiccan and Speed show up, briefly.
yeah.
I don't know. It's really. I remember when we were at this aspect of I forget which phase it was, but when Guardians of the Galaxy was announced, because it was something a lot of
Maybe
unless you were
3.
yeah,
3, I
maybe.
think.
on a lot of only diehard comic people heard. I remember people at work, not my current, but we're talking about, oh, this Guardians of the Galaxy, like this is kind of strange. Like I feel we're back at
It's
this now where
it's funny because
it's
the trailer for Guardians, I remember watching it and being like, I have no idea what this is, but I need to see this movie.
yeah, me
Like,
too.
this is going to become the most important movie. Like, I was just like, oh, this is different and fun. It's kind of like the reaction I had to the Thor Ragnarok trailer, where I was just like, oh, this is Marvel but different now. Like,
Yeah.
this is something else.
And it worked because sometimes, as we've seen in other franchises, when you take kind of a tonal shift, sometimes it doesn't pay off. But I think
Yeah.
Marvel's one of the few that you could have like things like Infinity War and Endgame where you got some hard hitting emotional oof. But then you got Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy that it's very uplifting and just kind of like, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess where I'm getting at is it just feels like we're now in a phase of the Marvel whatever phase we're in, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know anymore, but that where it's stuff
Five.
no one's really heard of yet, but very soon is going to become a household name by I think having some of those established characters from the initial phases helping
Yeah.
introduce new ones, and then they can just blossom out. Like, yeah,
Yeah. I'm honestly, I think the thing that I'm most interested in is how the Eternals is going to turn out,
yeah,
because that is a huge ensemble cast and none of them are characters that we have seen before.
hmm
Um and I think that's supposed to be the next one to come out, right?
yes. Well, it's interesting because obviously some of the things have
Or
shifted
maybe it's
around because I saw
yeah.
something where it was like it was supposed to be WandaVision and like Doctor Strange were literally supposed to kind of be
Yeah.
coming out almost in tandem, but
Yeah.
obviously things have swapped around. But you know what? Again, limiting my expectations. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm also excited because we're gonna have like the first, like I think it's the same actress from The Walking Dead that it's like it's a deaf character and it's played by a
Oh,
deaf
I'm so
actress.
sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm all about representation and I'm excited. I'm all
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
No, I think
Yeah, like,
I'm just more interested in, like, they've done a big ensemble movie with Avengers, where they had already established a bunch of characters.
true.
They've done an ensemble movie with Guardians, where there was only 5, and now they're doing an ensemble movie with Eternals, which I think is like 10 or 12 main characters. And that's going to be either everyone is going to get this much screen time, or it's going to be like, yeah, but this guy's the Angelina Jolie, because she's in it, she has to be the main character, or something
Mm,
like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, where you're just like, oh, so it's not really an ensemble movie. They're the
yeah.
backup.
It's kind of
So
like,
I'm,
is it
I'm just
gonna turn
interested to
into
see how they do that. Yeah.
yeah, 'cause it's like I'm concerned it's gonna now that you mentioned that I've forgotten it's that many people. Is it gonna be a Suicide Squad situation?
But even
Not the
Suicide
Suicides.
Squad, like even
Mhm.
Suicide Squad, I feel like that's kind of a hard thing to measure it up to, because if they had actually if there'd been a middle to that film, I think it would have been fine. But
Yeah.
because they spent the entire first two-thirds setting up, when they really could have done it much quicker and had a middle to the movie,
Yeah.
I feel like that number of characters could have been okay, but that was still only like 6 or 7.
Mm.
But Eternals is like, because I remember when the announcement of like, "Oh, here's the cast," and it just more and more people kept
More and
coming on, and I
more.
was like, "Oh no, Eternals is gonna be enormous. This is gonna be the most expensive film of all time just from paying the actors." And
Yeah.
I'm
So
comparing that to Endgame.
yeah, but you bring up a very, very, very good point about Endgame worked because we literally had 12 years of films to establish these
Yeah,
characters. Those two movies wouldn't have worked if we hadn't had 12 years of MCU establishing
yeah,
again character.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm excited to see everything else that's coming up. Um I would love to see these kids as Billy and Tommy again, but I am anticipating late teenagers next time we see them. I mean, if they leave it long enough, they could probably have the same people.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and you don't have to
um,
worry about child work laws, but yeah.
we've got Spider-Man, No Way Home. We've got Doctor Strange 2. We've got Captain Marvel 2. We've got Guardians 3. Black Widow, Eternals. There's so much stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just going to be fun to see sort of like who they set up as like the next big bad, what the next sort of like big arc is going to be, because I don't think we've fully had it set up for yet. Like I do feel like there's going to be some level of, oh, it's magic now instead of space. Um, but like I don't know what the sort of the end game is going to be for this arc,
Yeah.
which is
I
a
don't
good
know.
place to be. I don't want to be
Yeah.
predicting it in movie one or TV show one.
Exactly. And I'm happy to wait and see how it plays off. But yeah, any closing thoughts on our first kind of batch of Marvel Disney Plus shows?
um, I think it was a great kickoff to Marvel TV. I thought it was a really excellent use of the medium. It was definitely something that could not have been done in a movie because there was too many sort of taking a breath moments that could not, like, you couldn't have fit that whole story into a movie.
Yeah.
Um, I'm excited to see what other TV shows are going to be like. I worry that something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just going to be three movies of,
Mhm.
they do some kicking and punching. Um, but I do also have high hopes because I think Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan are top tier when they work together. Like their chemistry is just great fun. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. Um, I think I have high hopes for pretty much every Marvel Disney Plus show now. Like after WandaVision, I feel like, yeah, they've proved that they can do TV style, like episodic stuff, and I'm into it. How about you?
I'm very impressed too, because obviously, just because Star Wars came out first and The Mandalorian really raised the bar, I was very curious to go, okay, here's our next big kind of tentpole
Mm,
franchise. Are they going to be able to hold it up? Because obviously they were our popcorn franchises. Let's be honest. We had pretty much Marvel and Star Wars in our cinemas, and DC a
yep.
bit, but that's all CW kind of when we're talking TV. So there was kind of a lot of expectation. And again, like I've said, is a bit of a risk kind of on kind of not secondary characters, but just characters that weren't established. But I am so happy with the use of the practical, the visual, the storytelling. Like, yeah, and I think I know people kind of criticize, oh, it should have been all coming out at once. I liked the week to week. Obviously, it was great
Yeah.
because we could do this show, but I am a bit hesitant about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But we will see, and of course, we will kind of see about covering it and things because obviously life gets crazy. But
Yeah.
I mean, this has been
I
amazing
think
for 8 weeks.
Yeah, I think at the very least with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we will probably do a recap episode at very least of just like one
Yes,
big, hey, how was Falcon and the Winter Soldier for you? And
definitely.
if we do end up loving it, then maybe we'll do more, but we will for certain be doing just a single,
Yes.
how did you like kicking and punching dudes?
Exactly, because we can't be the place where streams come true and not cover it. Like, we just can't. But,
Yeah.
because also we're not just Marvel, it just worked out that way, but, yeah, so, I mean, it'll be very interesting because we got lots of other things kind of coming up. I'm very excited for What If, the animated,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
yes,
there's a
I
whole
just
bunch of good stuff coming, I think.
there really is. And it's just really an exciting time. And I think just to get a slight industry twist on it, I think it's also exciting to see these franchises because there used to be a time where it was like TV wasn't taken as seriously, especially when it came to visual effects. You were just kind of
Yeah.
like, well, that's TV. But I really feel there has been a shift. And I think Stranger Things actually started this. We can't say just The Mandalorian, you
Actually,
know.
I would say Game of Thrones, and I say that
I
as someone who
apologize.
didn't even notice Game of Thrones when it was on, except for people shouting about it. I think Game of Thrones is where they were like, "Oh, you can sink $1 million into an episode, and people will watch that. They won't be like, unimpressed by the work. They'll be like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm gonna name my children after it."
I apologize. You are absolutely correct. So yeah, Game of Thrones really kicked that door open for then things like Netflix to really open kind of
Yeah.
that. And so there's definitely a change in perspective. And obviously with the pandemic, it kind of helped that now our medium has shifted from cinema to our small screens. But
Yeah.
I'm just excited. And I don't know any better way to end this episode than just say I'm
I'm
excited.
excited.
Yeah, so, yeah, Helen, where can they find us?
I am at KetsyItaN on Twitter, and you can find us at wherestreams_CT on Twitter as well.
And you can find me as well on Twitter at Shenanigen, spelled with an EN. So thank you very much for joining us on this journey through the first kind of Marvel TV show. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to our audio version, please share with all your friends and comment and leave some reviews as well. They're always highly appreciated, and look forward to making some more. So I'll have to kind of change our logo to look more like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, maybe find a more epic intro tune. I'm still trying to work on getting that, like when you wish upon a star, but yeah, but yeah, my buddy's been busy, but it'll be fun. But as always, Helen, it's been absolutely lovely chatting
Yeah, until
with you.
next time.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye.